The Sauroxian elders had not even granted Vexara the dignity of a combat blade for her final hours. Such was their way. The wounded were burdens, the disabled were worse than dead. At 22 cycles, she had gone from promising warrior to discarded waste with one training accident that had severed her spinal column. Weakness cannot contaminate the bloodline, Elder Korvax had pronounced, his 4 violet eyes not even meeting hers as the transport doors opened to the barren landscape of outpost planet D-17. No name, just a designation, a fitting place for someone who no longer deserved her own name among the Sauroxian fleet. Her ceremonial armor had been stripped away. They'd left her only a thermal blanket, 1 day's rations, and the traditional abandonment stone, a smooth river rock engraved with her clan's symbol. When found with a corpse, it signaled to other Sauroxians that this one had been properly disposed of according to custom. Vexara dragged herself across the rocky ground using only her powerful arms. The pale blue skin of her useless legs scraped against stones, but she felt nothing below the injury. The twin suns beat down mercilessly. She estimated perhaps 2 local days before dehydration would claim her. A warrior's death, they would say, though she knew better. There was nothing honorable about being discarded like faulty equipment. At least the view is adequate for my final meditation, she muttered to herself, propping her upper body against a boulder overlooking a vast red canyon. Her species rarely wept, lacking tear ducts entirely, but the hollow ache in her chest was universal across sentient beings. She closed her eyes, attempting to recall the warrior's farewell her culture prescribed for the dying. The words felt hollow now. What use were prayers to a society that had determined her unfit to exist? The sound came gradually, a rhythmic crunching of footsteps on gravel. Vexara's eyes snapped open, her hand instinctively reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Perhaps a local predator had caught her scent. A quicker death than dehydration, at least. Instead, she saw something her tactical training had never prepared her for. A bipedal figure, similar in shape to her own species but with peculiar features, pinkish-brown skin, rounded ears, and only 2 eyes. The creature wore a damaged environmental suit with unfamiliar insignia. A human, she had studied them in tactical briefings. Physically weaker than Sauroxians but technologically advanced, and according to her people's intelligence, dangerously unpredictable. "Hello," the human called out, raising empty hands in what she recognized as a universal gesture of non-aggression. "Are you injured?" Its speech translator crackled with static but functioned adequately. Vexara's pride warred with survival instinct. To admit weakness was shameful, but she was already condemned. "My lower limbs are non-functional," she replied stiffly. "My people have determined me unfit for continued existence." The human's face contorted in an expression Vexara couldn't interpret. It approached cautiously, kneeling beside her. She noticed it was male, with dark facial hair and eyes the color of Sauroxian night skis. "I'm Marcus Jensen, xenobiologist," he said. "My research vessel crashed 3 kilometers east. I'm not leaving anyone to die out here." His eyes examined her with scientific precision rather than disgust or pity. "May I examine your injury?" Vexara stared at him, uncomprehending. By any species' logical standards, she was a burden. Resources on this outpost were surely limited. "Why would you assist me?" she demanded. "I am abandoned. This is our way." The human, Marcus, looked directly into her eyes with an intensity that made her 4-chambered heart stutter unexpectedly. "Well," he said simply, "it's not my way." Without waiting for permission, he gently lifted her thermal blanket to examine the injury, his touch clinical but somehow kinder than any she had experienced among her own kind. Vexara looked up at the alien sky, confusion washing over her pride. The human's bizarre behavior defied everything she understood about the natural order of strength and weakness. For the first time since the accident, an unfamiliar sensation flickered in her chest. If she had to name it, she might have called it hope. Marcus's shelter was a marvel of human ingenuity, a crashed research vessel repurposed into a habitable space. Solar panels harvested energy from the twin suns, and a filtration system collected precious water from the arid atmosphere. It was here that Vexara spent her first week away from Sauroxian influence, alternating between suspicion and reluctant gratitude. "The damage appears permanent, but not as catastrophic as your people assumed," Marcus explained, showing her scans he'd taken with his portable medical equipment. Your species has remarkable tissue regeneration capabilities in the upper body. Vexara watched him work with narrowed eyes. Functionality is binary to Soroxians. One can either fight or become prey. That's a limiting perspective, Marcus replied, as he fashioned a crude but effective mobility device from salvaged ship parts. Humans learned centuries ago that different abilities create different strengths. The contraption he built allowed Vexara to propel herself using her powerful arms, providing mobility she'd thought forever lost. The first time she moved independently across the shelter, something strange happened. Her upper face ridges flushed deep blue in what her people would consider a shameful display of emotion. "This changes nothing," she insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. "I am still unfit for clan standing." Marcus's expression, so alien yet increasingly readable, showed neither pity nor agreement. "Perhaps your clan's standing isn't the only measure of worth in this galaxy." As days turned to weeks, they established routines. Marcus taught her English while she shared Soroxian stellar navigation techniques. His scientific curiosity about her physiology was tempered with a respect no warrior had ever shown her. One evening, as the temperature dropped drastically, they huddled near the thermal unit. Vexara found herself studying the contours of his face, so different yet increasingly appealing. "Why did you really help me?" she asked suddenly. Marcus considered this before answering. "Where I come from, we have a concept called compassion. It means recognizing suffering in others and wanting to alleviate it, regardless of benefit to oneself." "This seems evolutionarily disadvantageous," Vexara observed, though something about the concept resonated in a way she wasn't ready to acknowledge. "Maybe," Marcus said with a soft laugh that sent an unexpected warmth through her chest. "Or maybe connection is its own kind of advantage." His hand accidentally brushed against hers as he adjusted the thermal controls. The contact sent an electric current through her skin, a physiological response her warrior training had never prepared her for. That night, as Marcus slept across the shelter, Vexara remained awake, confronting a troubling realization. Her people would consider these emerging feelings a weakness greater than her physical disability. Yet in the strange new reality she inhabited, she was beginning to wonder if everything her culture had taught her about strength and weakness might have been wrong after all. By the second month, the shelter had transformed. Marcus had engineered a series of pulleys and adaptive equipment that allowed Vexara to navigate independently. More significantly, their relationship had evolved into something neither could have anticipated. "Your stellar cartography knowledge is extraordinary," Marcus remarked, as Vexara completed a detailed map of local constellations. "With this accuracy, we might be able to boost the emergency beacon's targeting." "The Soroxian fleet uses these patterns for warcraft navigation," she explained. "I was top-ranked in my training cohort before." Her voice trailed off, the familiar bitterness rising. Marcus reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers, not quite touching, but offering proximity. "Vexara, you need to know something. On Earth, some of our most brilliant minds operated from mobility devices. Stephen Hawking revolutionized physics without the ability to move or speak independently." "Your species is strange," she said, though the harsh edge in her voice had softened. "Preserving what cannot contribute to combat superiority." "Different contributions," Marcus corrected. "Different types of strength." Later that day, as Marcus helped adjust her mobility harness, their faces came unexpectedly close. Vexara felt her breathing chambers constrict at his proximity. His scent, alien yet increasingly familiar, triggered a physiological response she recognized from biological training: attraction. "Your pupils are dilating," she observed abruptly. Marcus pulled back slightly, a flush coloring his cheeks. Involuntary human response." "To what stimulus?" she pressed, scientific curiosity mingling with something more primal. Marcus hesitated. "Attraction, it happens when humans find someone appealing." The concept was not entirely foreign to Soroxians, though mating was primarily for genetic advancement rather than emotional connection. "My respiratory rate increases in your presence," Vexara admitted. "It is inefficient." Marcus smiled, that strange human expression she had come to anticipate. Efficiency isn't everything. That night, for the first time, they shared the same sleeping area. their bodies not touching but close enough that Vexara could sense the heat radiating from his form. She studied him in the dim light, this alien who had redefined everything she understood about strength and value. In Saraxian culture, she whispered, uncertain if he was awake, to need another is the ultimate weakness. Marcus turned to face her, his eyes reflecting the dim emergency lights. And in human culture, to connect with another is the ultimate strength. His fingers gently intertwined with hers, and Vexara allowed the contact, a silent acknowledgement of territory they had begun to explore, not just between their species, but between their hearts. The warning came at dawn, a proximity alert from Marcus's salvaged sensors. A Saraxian scout vessel had entered orbit, likely drawn by the enhanced emergency beacon they had activated 3 days prior. They won't understand, Vexara stated flatly, maneuvering her mobility device toward the weapons locker Marcus had never meant to use. If they find me alive and abandoned, it will be considered a perversion of natural order. And you? She looked at him, genuine fear in her eyes. Interference with abandonment is punishable by death. Marcus's jaw tightened. They'll have to get through me first. You don't understand, she insisted. Saraxian scouts are elite warriors. Your physical capabilities are no match. Then we don't match strength with strength, Marcus interrupted, grabbing his portable lab equipment. We use different advantages. They worked frantically, Marcus modifying environmental filters, while Vexara calculated patrol patterns based on standard Saraxian protocols. Her military training, once deemed worthless with her paralysis, now became their lifeline. They'll deploy thermal tracking first, she explained. 3-person team standard formation. The scouts landed before nightfall, 3 warriors in full combat gear, moving with predatory precision toward the shelter. From their hidden observation point, Marcus and Vexara watched the advance. Commander Drevax, Vexara whispered, recognizing the lead scout. He was my superior officer. The ambush was sprung when the scouts entered the rigged shelter. Marcus's modified atmospheric filters released a compound specifically calibrated to Saraxian biology, causing temporary sensory disorientation without affecting human physiology. But the plan wasn't flawless. As Marcus moved to secure the disoriented scouts, Commander Drevax recovered faster than anticipated, lunging with lethal precision. Human filth, he snarled, weapon raised, interfering with our sacred traditions. What happened next would become etched in both their memories forever. Vexara, using the enhanced mobility apparatus Marcus had built, swung down from an elevated position. Her paralyzed legs were useless, but her warrior-trained arms and core had grown even stronger through adaptation. She struck with precision born from years of combat training, targeting the neural cluster at the base of Drevax's skull. The commander crumpled, unconscious rather than dead, a mercy her people rarely showed. You are no longer my commander, she said to his unconscious form, and I am no longer your subordinate. When the engagement ended, all 3 scouts were secured. Marcus stood staring at Vexara with a new appreciation, not for her warrior skills, but for her choice of restraint over vengeance. You could have killed them, he observed quietly. Vexara met his gaze, something new reflected in her expression. Perhaps I have learned there are different kinds of strength. Later, as they prepared to interrogate the scouts, Marcus pulled her aside, his hand gently touching her face in a gesture that had become precious to them both. Whatever happens next, he said softly, I need you to know something. What? She asked, her voice unusually vulnerable. I didn't save you, Marcus told her. You saved yourself, I just had the privilege of witnessing it. For the first time since her injury, Vexara felt not just useful, but whole. The Saraxian scout ship gleamed in the alien sunset, repaired and reprogrammed. After a tense negotiation with the captured scouts, involving an unprecedented agreement based on a Saraxian honor code, they had secured safe passage off-planet. They fear you now, Marcus observed as they made final preparations for departure. Not despite your paralysis, but because you've transcended it. Vexara adjusted the specialized pilot harness he had designed for her. They fear what they don't understand, that adaptation can be superior to blind strength. The scouts had been given a choice: report them both as dead, with evidence provided, or face the dishonor of having been defeated by an abandoned and an alien. Honor-bound, they had chosen the former option. Where will we go? Vexara asked, finalizing the navigation calculations. The galaxy sprawled before them, vast and unknown. Marcus's hand found hers across the control panel. Earth has advanced medical facilities. They might be able to do more for your mobility, and the scientific coalition would value your knowledge regardless. And us, she asked, the directness typical of her species. What becomes of this connection? Marcus moved closer, his body now intimately familiar to her despite their biological differences. Over the past days, they had explored territories beyond cultural boundaries, discovering compatibility neither species had documented before. That's entirely up to us, he said softly. No protocols, no clan rules, just two beings who found each other across impossible odds. As the ship lifted off, breaking atmosphere, Vexara experienced a sensation her people had no word for, a fullness of spirit that transcended physical limitation. In Sauroxian culture, to be paralyzed was to be incomplete. Yet somehow, with this alien, she had never felt more complete. That night, as the scout ship sailed through the darkness between stars, they came together one more time, her powerful upper body compensating for immobile legs, his gentle guidance showing reverence rather than pity. Their bodies connected despite differences in biology, temperature, cultural expectations. In the quiet aftermath, floating in zero gravity that equalized all physical limitations, Vexara traced the contours of his face. My people would never understand this, she whispered. Do you understand it? Marcus asked, his eyes reflecting starlight. Vexara considered this question with the analytical precision her species was known for. I understand that strength exists in many forms, that value transcends function, that connection. She hesitated, finding the human word. That love, perhaps, is its own kind of power. Marcus smiled, pressing his forehead to hers in the intimate gesture they had made their own. That sounds like understanding enough for now. The stars streaked past as the ship accelerated toward human space. Vexara, once abandoned by her people for her supposed weakness, piloted their course with unmatched precision, her warrior mind finding new purpose, her adapted body creating new capability, her awakened heart exploring territory more uncharted than any star system. She was still Sauroxian, still paralyzed, but no longer abandoned. And as Marcus's hand rested on her shoulder, she knew with absolute certainty that she had never been stronger.